Greetings and salutations, folks. I'm starting off another video on a roadside because there was a really cool plant growing here, and you know how much I love to show off cool roadside plants. So what we're working with right now, what we're working with right here, this is the beautiful Stylophorum diphyllum, the wood poppy, or the celandine poppy, they call this one. You might, with a name like that, you might confuse it with the invasive celandine, Ficaria verna, but there are a lot of features that you can use to distinguish this wonderful native spring wildflower from the invasive Ficaria verna. One of those is going to be the leaves. In Ficaria verna, they're like more cordate and mat forming and stuff like that, whereas these are very heavily lobed. Additionally, the flower, Ficaria verna's got a lot more petals than this one. This one looks like, or Stylophorum diphyllum typically has around 4 petals. Yeah, typically around 4. Some of these have 5 for some reason. Not sure what's up with that. But regardless, also this plant bleeds a yellow sap when it's damaged, which Ficaria verna doesn't do. So just a couple brief little factors you can use to distinguish the two plants. But this is an absolutely awesome population. Definitely a thumbnail plant if ever there was one. But we'll talk about some of the other stuff in this same area. Just beyond the barbed wire there, that white mass, that's all Anemone bidernatum. We talked about that in my last video. Maybe check that one out for some more spring wildflower action. But there's a whole bunch of these Stylophorum diphyllums going off in here. We've got ourselves what appears to be a native ulmus right here. We've got right there, that's Eracema triphyllum, the jack in the pulpit in the Geraniaceae. So that's pretty nice. And then there's like 2 or 3 more plants I wanted to show you guys that are just up on this roadside. Wow, isn't that awesome? Like, I'm just walking the roadside here and I'm seeing all kinds of native vegetation. It's absolutely awesome. Who we've got down here is a beautiful member of the buttercup family. This is a native member of the buttercup family. This would be looking like Ranunculus hispidus, I would have to say. And what we've got right here, this appears to be a meanthamum of some species, either racemosum or not 100% sure. It's a false Solomon seal is the common name. You can distinguish the false and true Solomon seals because the false Solomon seals flower at the terminal end of the plant, whereas true Solomon seals flower in the leaf axils. So if you get a close look at the leaf axils, you'll note that there's no developing buds in there, indicating that this is, in fact, a false Solomon seal in the genus Meanthamum. It's Meanthamum racemosum or stellatum. Not 100% sure which. But yeah, so we got the Ranunculus, we got the Meanthamum out of the way, and down over here, there's that one guy with the splotchy leaf right here. This is another native wildflower. This is Hydrophyllum virginianum, the Virginia waterleaf. I think that's in the Geraniaceae now. It was formerly in the Hydrophyllaceae, but that got merged into the the Geraniaceae. Big old clump of Geranium maculatum right there in the Geraniaceae. I might get hit by a car, but at least I won't go out doing botany. So yeah, just an absolutely, just a really cool roadside that I had to stop by and document some of this flora because given the way things go, it's probably gonna get mowed. Oh, here's a cool one. Look at this massive leaf right here. Heavily dissected, super hairy. Let me zoom out a little. This belongs to, I think it's Heracleum maximum, the cow parsnip, which is an awesome native member of the carrot family. Got to be careful if you're ever into foraging and you start learning carrots. You got to make sure you know those really well because there are a couple very dangerous carrots that we get in the area. Well, it's not in the area yet, but one of them being like giant hogweed, another one being poison hemlock, your wild parsnip, suicide root. So yeah, the carrot family is pretty dangerous. Don't mess around with it, but I think if this is prepared right, it can be edible. So, and I see the trilliums. Okay, one sec. Aren't these lovely? So I showed you guys Trillium grandiflorum in the previous video. This is Trillium recurvatum, also known as the bloody butcher or prairie trillium, even though I don't really see this popping up in prairies too often. Absolutely beautiful. But with that, I think it's time for me to get the heck out of Dodge before I annoy a landowner or get shot or whatever else. So yeah, time to hit the preserve. Just kidding, it's not time to hit the preserve just yet, because I gotta show you guys this. Look at that. Isn't that lovely, just swaying in the breeze? This is Phlox divaricata, one of our native phlox species. And if you can look over there, there's actually a white one going off, which is kind of unusual. I guess there's some variation in the population. Pretty cool to see that. Oh yeah, Phlox divaricata, opposite leaves, and a 5-petaled salviform corolla. Salviform meaning shaped like a tube. Okay, let's actually go to the preserve. So this is another pretty massive plant. Like, look at the size of these leaves compared to my hand. They're much bigger. What this is, actually, you might not recognize it without the flowers, but this is Symplocarpus foetidus. This is what skunk cabbage turns into. You can kind of see why they get the name cabbage, given the size of these leaves. But it gets the name skunk because if you step on it, it smells like a dang skunk, which is something a scent I've familiarized myself with in my days in Ohio, actually. First time I ever smelled what skunks smelled like. They're a really cute little animal, but that's beside the point. The skunk cabbage is it's an amazing plant, like I've talked about before on this channel. It's thermogenic, so it can melt snow and ice and provide nice habitat for those early season pollinators, primarily flies and beetles in the example of skunk cabbage. So that's just a very cool plant that I always love to see whenever I'm out in habitat. And isn't this just a beautiful little scene here? All the anemone bidernatum, some ranunculus scattered in there. It would be a perfect scene if you could ignore this shrub, but I can't ignore this shrub because this is some invasive Linicera. Yeah, so that's not good. Probably gonna start yanking up these, doing some illegal beautification maybe, I don't know, or just helping out the workers of this preserve. But whatever you want to call it, I'm probably going to start doing it because there is a good amount of honeysuckle sproutlings in this floodplain forest, and they'll take it over. Honeysuckle's crazy. People don't think honeysuckle's that bad because it might not seem like it's invasive in your yard. The problem is that plants interact with ecosystems outside of your yard. So what happens when your beautiful, so-called beautiful in my opinion, honeysuckle bush blooms and sets fruit is that the birds come, birds eat the fruit, fly into pristine habitat, shit out the seeds, and then bingo, you've got a honeysuckle infestation that's going to choke out your forest's understory and massively reduce biodiversity. This is a serious, serious problem, and invasive species are a very real threat. Please, if you take anything away from this channel, let it be that. So I'm right here in some sort of depression. Looks like this might be if we got enough rain, might be an ephemeral pond at some stage in the game. But the plant I want to talk about is what we're looking at right here. I really wanted to show you guys this one, and I was afraid I was going to have to jump into a different roadside ditch to do it, but I found this one, so I don't have to do that. But get a load of those beautiful flowers. This is Caltha palustris, the marsh marigold. Kind of a confusing common name because it's not a marigold at all, it's a buttercup, so it should be called marsh buttercup. But I don't make the names, unfortunately, much as I would like to. It's got these beautiful leaves. You'll see this one occurring also in a variety of wetland habitats. I believe it's got another common name called cowslip or cowslip. I don't know if that's because this is supposed to look like a cow's lips, or if because when cows ate it, they would ingest some kind of toxic alkaloid and slip around like they were messed up, similar to the case with the little blue staggers, Dicentricucularia. Not sure what the deal is with that name, but I will read up on it and let you guys know. But while in the meantime, just get a nice look at those flowers. Absolutely stunning. Love a good buttercup. I'm balancing on a log right now, so pardon me if this is a little bit shaky, but these right here, these are the developing flowers of a very cool tree. That tree species being, whoops, hang on, I lost them. Come back. Yeah, get a load of those flowers, nice and fuzzy a little bit. These are the flowers belonging to Asimina, not sure how to pronounce it, Asimina triloba, the pawpaw or the Indiana banana, I like to call it. It's a really cool tree because it's the family that this tree is in the Ananaceae. It's typically found in the tropics, but this one hangs out in the temperate zones of North America. which is cool. Always weird when you get someone that's kind of breaking the family rules. But another cool thing about it, it's a highly clonal species, so in a lot of floodplains, you'll see it you'll just see clusters of all these trees that are all the same age with these nice gray trunks and all that, and you'll know you're just in a nice little pawpaw grove. So when the season comes back, you know, you can take some maybe, if that's allowed. It wouldn't be allowed here, but, you know, maybe other places or on private land. But I tried to germinate some of these so I could have some in my yard. I got 2 out of 23 to go, which is a pretty shit rate, but I don't have the greenest thumb, apparently. Anyways, let's go try to find some more cool shit and try to wrap this up. Keep this video on the shorter side, maybe. So first and foremost, just get a load of all that Podophyllum peltatum. All those fairy umbrellas, isn't that lovely? Just a nice uninterrupted colony of them. And what we've also got going on, what I stopped to show us, is a pretty big looking population of a cool little fern. This is this guy down here. Whoops, I'm not even focused on him. This little guy down here. This, I believe, is Cystopteris protrusa. And the way you distinguish it from the other Cystopterises, I believe, is that Cystopteris protrusa, the pinnae have a very small petiole, whereas the other ones are completely sessile, which means they lack a petiole or a stem connecting, like a stem connecting the leaf to the main flower stem, essentially is what that means. So that's a cool little fern. A whole bunch of the Podophyllum peltatum. Cool thing about Podophyllum peltatum, ooh, I scared a moth or a butterfly or something. But cool thing about Podophyllum peltatum is that you can always tell which ones are going to flower and which ones aren't, because the ones that will flower will have 2 leaves split in the middle by a bud, and the ones that don't flower, that one's got 2 leaves and a bud, sorry, and the ones that won't flower, like this one right here, don't have anything going on. No reproductive action out of you, but some out of you. So how about that? That's a nice little trick you can pull in the woods to find flowering May-apples. Just look for the ones with 2 leaves, because the flowers kind of hide underneath them a little bit. They're kind of humble in that regard. Anyways, I'm having some troubles finding anything else I really want to film out here, so I might just cut the video here, but there's always a chance that I'm going to throw some extra junk in. But in case I don't, have a great day and all that. Try to get outside.